I'd like to ask about New York generally, architecture-wise, design-wise, development, and also a little bit specifically about the fifth facade, it's being called, or
Right.
roof space. Let's start with New York. Why? Well, first of all, do you feel like there's a tension between modern buildings that are defining New York's skyline today? We're seeing a lot of activity.
Right.
And the classic New York buildings that everyone associates with the city and appreciates pretty universally, Empire State Building, Chrysler Building, what have you.
I mean, we all have a strong emotional reaction to some of the great setback skyscrapers, which were really created post-1916 zoning. They have these incredibly beautiful forms to them, of a series of setbacks. So sometimes we design buildings like that, and sometimes there's new buildings like Bjarke Engel's building on 57th Street that's been really well received, that doesn't fit any kind of normal patterns of development. So I think it really depends. New York is like New Yorkers are well-educated sports fans, very critical, and they're pretty well-educated architecture fans too, and pretty critical. So if it's clearly about just harvesting square footage for a commodity to sell or to trade, New Yorkers get that right away, and it doesn't seem to enrich their life. But then again, you can do a building that's of earthy texture, very simple, deep masonry punctures, and the reaction is, I like that building, I love that building, it feels right. So there's an emotional response that people have when they see that somebody crafted a solution about something, that had some meaning, some purpose beyond just harvesting square footage for a revenue return.
Incredibly apt observation, given the theme of this conference, which is global exchange of capital, right? Which is what's driving a lot of this new development. Expand on that a little bit, how you see that changing New York and cities around the world, really, as they are increasingly pressured to harvest this equation, sort of, as you put it.
Well, we have a growing concern about income inequality in New York, and a lot of that is around the cost of housing. So under the current administration, there's a tremendous focus on creating affordable housing, so that long term we'll be planning for some kind of equitable society. We believe in diversity, that diversity is a strength, and building projects that have affordable housing, have market rate housing, a mix of all of those, planning for education. That's how you make healthy, vibrant, diverse cities. You must have diversity.
And do you think we'll continue to have that reputation and ability to attract people from all corners of the globe, of all types of people?
I can tell you that I pray for it.
Why do you pray for it and
because,
not say you're confident it will happen?
Because my whole career in some ways is dependent on it. I've fallen in love with this place. I've invested my life here, and its success is incredibly important to our studio and my family. And so, and I think it'd be good for the world, for New York to continue to be a free, open, inclusive, and welcoming city.
So I wanted to ask about the so-called fifth facade, roof spaces, outdoor spaces, new integrations of public space throughout buildings. What are some trends on that front that excite you, that interest you?
Well, for me, there's a term that we call biophilic design, or biophilia. My definition is really simple. People feel good when they feel connected to nature. They do better. We all know that we are living in more and more dense cities, and we'll have taller and taller buildings, yet we have a deep innate need to connect to nature. So how are we going to do that? We've always had parks, which are great, but I think we now have a new obligation to connect people closer to nature in the buildings, whether they are whether they're gardens on every single floor or local gardens up in skyscrapers. We will need to find a way. And we also, I think, need to find a way to re-knit the ecosystem, which we have kind of scrubbed and made into a little bit of a monoculture. And the other issue we'll have to plan for is storm resiliency and mitigation. And I think these things actually go together. We need more wetlands that absorb storm surge. We need to have our roofs collect storm water, so we're not we're not overflowing our sewage treatment systems and pumping raw sewage out into the rivers. But we're also doing more and more here. I think that we'll get to the point where we have a green area ratio, like we have a floor area ratio, and every site yields a certain amount of development rights. I think we'll get to the point where we'll have a green area ratio where every site needs to contribute a certain amount of green area.